Here in the Arizona Republican AZ Central newsroom, I'm Richard Rellis here with columnist Bob Robb. In an op-ed for Phoenix's past mayors, talk about this pension proposition as a threat to Phoenix's way of life. They say,
you're kidding.
They say, hold on now. They say that Phoenix is the gold standard of fiscal responsibility, and they're well on their way to paying down their pension obligations. I'm guessing you see it slightly differently. Well, I guess let's start with the financial obligations of the pensions. Let's start there.
Right, and the fact that the city is deeply underwater in having sufficient assets to cover its promised benefits. The city's portion of the state program for firefighters and police only has enough money to cover about 40% of promised benefits. The city administered program for other city workers only have the assets to cover about 60% of promised benefits.
The city says it's on the way to pay it back.
But that's based upon an assumption that for the next 20 or 30 years, you're going to have 7.5% growth in your investment portfolio. Over the last 7 years, the increase in liabilities for the city-administered pension plan exceeded the growth in assets. This is not something which is fixing itself. And resting on robust investment growth in the future over decades is simply too big of a risk, both for workers and for taxpayers.
Now on the city services thing, this, if approved, this would say let's put some sort of cap on spending. Money should go first to paying down these debts. The mayors talk about it being a threat to the way the city does business. You say, though, that this proposition isn't that onerous.
It's really not. And the city has grown far faster than population growth and inflation over the last 40, 50 years, and continues to. It's a crude instrument. What it says is that until these pension programs are 90% funded, other city programs can only grow by population and inflation. That's not a cut. That maintains them as they are. And there are so many exceptions to it that it applies to a very narrow slice of city programs. All the fee-supported enterprise programs like water and sewer, aviation, are exempt. The special sales taxes that have been approved by voters for dedicated purposes, exempt. That's most of city government.
Yeah.
Then in the general fund itself, so we're only talking about the city's general fund, public safety is exempt. Well, that's 70% of the general fund. So you're really talking about a modest constraint, can't grow faster than population growth and inflation, for a very narrow range of services in order to not be taking such a giant gamble on investment returns in the future to fulfill our obligation to city retirees and not threaten taxpayers in the future with some whopping bill if these robust investment assumptions turn out to be untrue.
And you get deep into the weeds in the column, into the details of this, as you have a little bit now. Is the opposition to this, or support of it, symbolic in many senses, that just how you feel politically is how you feel about a cap on city spending?
Well, there is, I think, sort of false pride in the management of city government. So it's unsurprising that mayors would say, we did a dynamite job, we fixed all the problems, don't worry, just move on. But I also think there's a natural resistance to some external constraint that says, no, we're not going to let our elected officials fully decide this. We're going to set some rules in advance. And it is a crude instrument. I wish we didn't need to do this. And it's going to have a modest effect. But I do think the idea of saying, hey, let's not bet entirely on investment returns in the future. If we've got some spare money, let's devote some of it to paying down this pension debt in case that bet turns out to be a pretty bad one.
Bob Robb's column detailing his argument is on our website. The mayor's column detailing their argument is also on our website. You get to decide for yourself, and if you're a resident of the city of Phoenix, you'll get to actually vote on this.